I want every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens. If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
Black Lives Matter doesn't alienate you, even if it's the current struggle you can't relate to. Death is colorblind, but in life you'll come to find there's a ton of lines that divides us all scattered. Bottom line, we all have them, fighting injustice all random. Cause black lives matters to me, cause I'm black, and if life matters, who could disagree? Listen, the move is meant to be motivational for civil rights, human equality for basic human simple rights, the right to live, the right to survive on the land that God created, cause the world's not owned by man. Cause man didn't make the mountains or the trees, and he couldn't make the sun, moon, stars, or the seas, and he didn't make the insects or animals or wildlife. But it's ironic, we live like animals or wildlife, barbaric, living foul, tribe, carnivorous, and downright carnal. So God know we all sinners, so to sound like one life is worth less than another, it's just a cover conviction of the soul scheming that won't help their brother or sister because they believe in their own self above the level of need. Cause they're selfish, it won't help each other, selfish indeed, full of greed. When they see people bleed, barbarically blasted with bullets, and they won't even breathe. Black Lives Matter doesn't alienate you, even if it's the current struggle you can't relate to. Death is colorblind, but in life you'll come to find there's a ton of lines that divides us all scattered. Bottom line, we all have them, fighting injustice all random. Cause black lives matters to me, cause I'm black, and if life matters, who could disagree? Yes, black lives matter. Politicians all wanna politicize it, and now the critics all just wanna criticize it, creating chaos through controversial chatter, trying to corrupt the slogan Black Lives Matter through media manipulation, magnetizing the mind of the masses, trying to desecrate what the word black is, plotting to pervert the perception of the real Black Lives Matter intention, which is just bringing attention of the Black Lives murder on a daily basis by law enforcement. And the greatest disgrace is all recorded with evidence of their faces. Now we marching for it, but that don't make us racist. We cannot ignore it, and please don't state the cases of black on black crime as a way to negate this tragic epidemic, downplayed and trivialized. Cause murder's a systemic financial enterprise. So Black Lives Matter doesn't alienate you, even if it's the current struggle you can't relate to. Death is colorblind, but in life you'll come to find there's a ton of lines that divides us all scattered. Bottom line, we all have them, fighting injustice all random. Cause black lives matters to me, cause I'm black, and if life matters, who could disagree? Listen, Black Lives Matter's not a terrorist group, it's a movement that's addressing a terrible truth of many black people murdered, mostly killed in their youth, systematically being slain by police, and his proof the political propaganda putting people of color in the negative category of always killing each other. But they only tell half the story, and once you really discover the social sinister scandal that's been really uncovered through institutionalization that intentionally targets African American males, putting them in the Department of Corrections where the jails then judicially market them as criminals, human sales sold for billions in profits, put in a population of economics displacement, more money for building jails, less money for education. The corporate brings in the drugs, so crime is an elevation, property value drops taken through gentrification. But Black Lives Matter doesn't alienate you, even if it's the current struggle you can't relate to. Death is colorblind, but in life you'll come to find there's a ton of lines that divides us all scattered. Bottom line, we all have them, fighting injustice all random. Cause black lives matters to me, cause I'm black, and if life matters, who could disagree?
Failing to signal a lane change. Riding in your girlfriend's car with a child in the back.
Run into the bathroom in your own apartment.
Selling cigarettes outside of a corner store.
Riding a commuter train.
Walking home with a friend.
Making eye contact.
Selling CDs outside of a supermarket.
What
what did James Baldwin say? To be a Negro in America and to be conscious is to be angry all the time.
Yeah.
Of course I'm angry. I'm watching people be slaughtered and you say it's okay. Of course I'm angry.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed to be angry.
Right.
You don't put that that mantle on me and I'm supposed to be ashamed of it. I'm angry because you earned it. The first thing society does is when a young black man, something happens to a young black man, they pull up his criminal history. They didn't have anything on Tamir Rice, so they pull something up on the spot. You know what they're doing? They're trying to dehumanize, devalue you.
Right.
Well, he's a criminal. Of course he had to die. That would be as offensive as me pulling up the history of those police officers who got slaughtered. That would be deeply offensive. Because what they were doing, what you're saying is, if you're disrespectful, you should die. Or if you struggle, you should die. The only reason you should use force is if your life or someone else's life is in danger.
I would say that there are some things that we must continue to do in order to make the American dream a reality and save our nation in this hour. We will be able to emerge from the bleak and desolate midnight of man's inhumanity to man to the bright and glittering daybreak of freedom and justice. Through our suffering, through our sacrifice, we'll be able to achieve the American dream. This will be the day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spirit of free at last, and God Almighty, we're free at last. Do now and will continue to carry on our mass protest.
Equal justice under law. That's supposed to be the basic premise of our legal system, that our laws are just and that everyone, no matter how rich or how powerful or how well connected, will be held equally accountable if they break those laws. But that's not the America we live in. It's not equal justice when a kid gets thrown in jail for stealing a car, while a CEO gets a huge raise when his company steals billions. It's not equal justice when someone hooked up opioids gets locked up for buying pills on the street, but bank executives get off scot-free for laundering nearly $1 billion of drug cartel money. We have one set of law on the books, but there are really two legal systems. One legal system is for big corporations, for the wealthy and the powerful. In this legal system, government officials fret about unintended consequences if they're too tough. In this legal system, instead of demanding actual punishment for breaking the law, the government regularly accepts token fines and phony promises to do better next time. In this legal system, even after huge companies plead guilty to felonies, law enforcement officials are so timid that they don't even bring charges against individuals who work there. That's one system. The second system is for everyone else. In this second system, whoever breaks the law can be held accountable. Government enforcement isn't timid here. It's aggressive. Consequences be damned. Just ask the families of Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray, and Michael Brown about how aggressive they are. In this legal system, the government locks up people for decades, ruining lives over minor drug crimes, because that's what the law demands. Yes, there are two legal systems, one for the rich and powerful and one for everyone else. The American people know that we have two legal systems, but they expect us to fix it. They expect us to stand for justice. They expect us to once again honor the simple notion that in America, nobody is above the law. And anyone in Congress who thinks they can simply talk tough on crime and then vote to make it harder to crack down on corporate criminals, hear this. I promise you, the American people are watching, and they will remember.
I was following developments with a 5-year-old little girl sitting on her dad's lap who just got shot in the head by a drive-by shooting. And if some of the people here gave a good goddamn about the victimization of people in this community by crime, I take some of their invective more seriously. The greatest racial disparity in the city of Milwaukee is getting shot and killed. Hello. 80% of my homicide victims every year are African American. 80% of our aggravated assault victims are African American. 80% of our shooting victims who survived their shooting are African American. Now, they know all about the last 3 people that have been killed by the Milwaukee Police Department over the course of the last several years. There's not one of them can name one of the last 3 homicide victims we've had in this city. Now, there's room for everybody to participate in fixing this police department, and I'm not pretending we're without sin. But this community is at risk, all right. And it's not because men and women in blue risk their lives protecting it. It's at risk because we have large numbers of high-capacity, quality firearms in the hands of remorseless criminals who don't care who they shoot.